Bonjour tout le monde. On est témoin aujourd'hui du pire chaos au sein du gouvernement du Canada dans l'histoire moderne de notre pays. Le gouvernement du Canada perd le contrôle sous nos yeux et au pire moment. Aujourd'hui, quelques heures à peine avant que le ministre des Finances de Trudeau ne présente un budget d'automne qui devait pulvériser nos objectifs de déficit qui étaient déjà massifs. Elle a annoncé qu'elle n'avait plus confiance en Justin Trudeau comme premier ministre du Canada. Les Canadiens qui s'inquiétaient déjà des 40 milliards de dollars imprudents de déficit imprudent annoncés par le gouvernement au printemps dernier étaient sur le point d'apprendre qu'ils étaient bien plus élevés que ça. Cela allait signifier une plus grande inflation et plus de risques pour notre économie, déjà à risque des grands tarifs des États-Unis. Pour poursuivre le chaos, pensons à ceci. Au moment où la ministre des Finances a démissionné, l'ordre de priorité publié sur le site web du gouvernement signifiait que François-Philippe Champagne allait devenir instantanément le ministre des Finances. En fait, je pense que maintenant, M. François-Philippe Champagne est le ministre des Finances. Mais un journaliste l'a appelé, il a confirmé qu'il ne l'est pas. Donc, ce n'est pas lui. Prochainement, le poste va à Randy Boissonneau. Randy Boissonneau est le troisième sur la liste de précédents, publié par le cabinet de Justin Trudeau. M. Boissonneau, les deux Randy, avait besoin de démissionner à cause d'un scandale où il a eu une fausse identité autochtone et il s'identifiait comme deux personnes pour avoir accès aux fonds gouvernementaux pour son entreprise, un scandale massif. Donc, qui est le ministre des Finances à ce moment? Tout est devenu hors de contrôle. Les dépenses et la bureaucratie incontrôlée ont fait doubler le coût du logement. Il y a 1400 campements de sans-abri qui ont envahi la seule province de l'Ontario. L'immigration incontrôlée a conduit à l'ouverture de camps de réfugiés dans des banlieues du Canada pour faire face à l'immigration incontrôlée. Le gouvernement admet qu'il y a jusqu'à 500 000 personnes au Canada en situation irrégulière ou illégale. La criminalité est incontrôlée et ça a envahi nos rues avec le double de crimes faits avec une arme. Les drogues et le désordre incontrôlé ajoutent au chaos. 47 000 personnes sont mortes des surdoses après que M. Trudeau a libéralisé les drogues dans nos rues. L'inflation est hors de contrôle. À cause de dépenses inflationnistes de ce gouvernement, 2 millions de personnes doivent aller aux banques alimentaires, un nombre impensable il n'y a pas longtemps. Maintenant, nos banques alimentaires manquent de nourriture. Les dépenses incontrôlées ont doublé notre dette et ont fait grimper les taux d'intérêt. Il n'y a pas que Mme Freeland qui a perdu le contrôle par rapport à M. Trudeau. On a M. Fraser, le ministre des Logements, il démissionne en pleine crise de logement. La ministre des Finances a démissionné au beau milieu d'une crise économique ici au Canada. Donc, ça montre que Justin Trudeau a perdu le contrôle, mais il s'accroche au pouvoir. Tout ce chaos, toutes ces divisions, toutes ces faiblesses se produisent alors que notre plus grand voisin et plus proche allié nous impose des droits de douane de 25 % sous la direction d'un président récemment élu, doté d'un mandat fort et nouveau, un homme qui sait identifier la faiblesse. Et on voit la faiblesse au sein du gouvernement libéral. Freeland est le principal ministre de Justin Trudeau depuis 9 ans. Ce n'est pas n'importe quel ministre. C'est le vice-premier ministre du Canada. Et elle a perdu la confiance en M. Trudeau. Regarde ses propres mots. Aujourd'hui, notre pays est confronté à un grand défi. La nouvelle administration américaine poursuit une politique de nationalisme économique agressif, ce qui comprend une menace de tarif de 25 %. Nous devons prendre cette menace au sérieux. Il faut préserver notre capacité fiscale aujourd'hui, disposer des réserves dont nous pourrions avoir besoin en cas de guerre tarifaire. Il faut éviter les astuces politiques coûteuses que nous ne pouvons pas nous permettre et qui font douter les Canadiens que nous reconnaissons à quel point ce moment est grave. Je sais que les Canadiens et Canadiennes reconnaîtraient et respecteraient une telle approche. Ils savent quand nous travaillons pour eux et ils savent quand nous nous concentrons sur nous-mêmes. Il est inévitable que notre mandat au gouvernement prenne fin. Prenne fin. Et je cite, « Cela ne peut plus durer. » Quand Jagmeet Singh va-t-il travailler pour le Canada au lieu de travailler pour M. Trudeau? Comment ça se fait, M. Singh, que quand il y a 20 députés libéraux qui ont perdu la confiance en M. Trudeau, y compris sa propre vice-première ministre, que vous, M. Singh, ayez toujours la confiance envers ce premier ministre. Il faut maintenant que M. Singh mette le Canada d'abord et mette fin à ce gouvernement désastreux qui a perdu totalement le contrôle. Nous sommes là pour travailler dans l'intérêt du Canada. Et j'ai un message pour tous les libéraux patriotiques à travers le Canada. Je comprends que vos leaders, que ce soit M. Carney ou M. Trudeau, vous ont trahi. Les conservateurs vont travailler pour vous, pour tous les Canadiens, de toutes les couleurs politiques, pour réunir et pour aider le Canada à récupérer après tous les dommages qu'a causé M. Trudeau. On a un bel avenir, mais il faut commencer maintenant de reprendre le contrôle. On va reprendre le contrôle des dépenses, de l'immigration, des frontières, de la criminalité et de notre gouvernance. On va réinstaurer la promesse du Canada. Merci beaucoup. Thank you very much, everyone, for being here today. What we are seeing is the government of Canada itself is spiraling out of control right before our eyes and at the very worst time. Today, mere hours before Trudeau's finance minister was to deliver a fall economic update that was expected to smash through her already massive deficit targets, she announced she no longer has confidence in the Prime Minister. Canadians were already anxious about the reckless $40 billion deficit the government had announced last spring, but today, in mere hours, they were expected to learn that it was much higher than that, threatening our social programs and our fiscal stability right in the middle of a potential trade war. The Prime Minister, with the help and instigation of carbon tax Carney, pushed Ms. Freeland to bring on massive, unsustainable, irresponsible spending increases that blew through her self-imposed guardrail. He thought that he would simply push her through that guardrail and off the cliff so that she, and not he and Mr. Carney, would take the blame for the crisis that he and they caused. To continue the chaos, think of this. The moment the finance minister resigned, the government's published order of precedent meant that François-Philippe Champagne instantaneously became the finance minister. But now, he tells us he doesn't have the job and doesn't want the job. So it goes to the next minister who's on the published order of precedent, and that is Randy Boissonnault, more commonly known as the Two Randys, the gentleman who had to resign because he falsely claimed he was Indigenous, falsely claimed that there were more than one Randy when it was all him and all in his head, and he is now technically our finance minister as we speak. We don't know for sure, though, if he'll still be finance minister in 3.5 hours when the scheduled fall economic update is expected to land. That update, by the way, is currently covered by a black blanket underneath a table. No one is allowed to look at it, even though journalists and parliamentarians showed up to read it in briefing rooms to this day, earlier today. So here we are. Everything is spiraling out of control. Out of control spending and bureaucracy has doubled housing costs, with 1,400 homeless encampments taking over Ontario alone. Out of control immigration has led to refugee camps opening in suburban Canada. And then we have 500,000 people in the country illegally, according to government estimates. Out of control crime overtakes our once tranquil streets, with gun crime having doubled. Out of control drugs and disorder add to the chaos, with 47,000 of our people dead of overdoses since Trudeau legalized drug laws, stopped enforcing them, and allowed limitless sums of fentanyl ingredients into our country. Out of control inflation has followed out of control money printing, which has sent out of control demand to our food banks, which are running out of food altogether. Out of control spending has doubled our national debt, boosted interest rates, and threatened our social programs. And it's not just Freeland who thinks this Prime Minister is out of control. Now, Housing Minister Sean Fraser has resigned in the middle of a housing crisis. The Minister is resigning, the Finance Minister is resigning in the middle of an economic crisis, and a fifth of his Liberal caucus has lost confidence in him. Justin Trudeau has lost control, and yet he clings to power. We cannot accept this kind of chaos, division, weakness, while we're staring down the barrel of a 25% tariff from our biggest trading partner and closest ally, which, by the way, is headed by a newly elected president with a strong and fresh mandate, a man who can spot weakness from a mile away. Ms. Freeland has been Mr. Trudeau's most trusted minister now for a decade, for 9 years. She knows him better than anyone, and she knows that he's out of control. She said this: "Our country faces a grave challenge. The incoming administration in the United States is pursuing a policy of aggressive economic nationalism, including the threat of a 25% tariff. We need to take that threat extremely seriously. That means we have to keep our fiscal firepower dry today, so we have the reserves we may need for a coming tariff war. That means eschewing costly political gimmicks, which we can ill afford, and which makes Canadians doubt that we recognize the gravity of the moment. I know Canadians would recognize and respect such an approach. They know we are working for them. They know when we are working for them, and they know when we are working for ourselves. Inevitably, our time in government will come to an end. Will come to an end," she said, and I quote.
Could
and
be
it is
today.
coming to an end.
Election.
Because we
Let's
simply
go.
cannot go on like this. And it is up to Jagmeet Singh
right.
now to make that realization. Mr. Trudeau is being held in office by one man, Jagmeet Singh. A fifth of Liberal MPs have written a letter for him to resign. His deputy prime minister has walked out on him. His housing minister has quit. That on top of numerous other female ministers who stormed out after his appalling mistreatment and abuse and dishonesty towards them. 80% of Canadians have lost confidence in this prime minister. So why is Jagmeet Singh
We lost that since
making
day one.
the entire country wait for him to get his pension? That is the question today. To patriotic Liberals across the country, my message is this: you supported this government in good faith because you thought it was the right thing for the country. And you are good and decent patriotic people who've been let down by a Prime Minister and his top advisor, Mr. Carney, who have betrayed Ms. Freeland and you. Carney and Trudeau, the backroom boys, have taken the Liberal Party away from anything it used to stand for. What I'm calling for is let's bring home the common sense consensus of Liberals who believed in liberty, Conservatives who believed in conserving it, fiscal responsibility, compassion for our neighbours. These are the shared common values that will bind up our nation's wounds and bring us back together. Now is the time for a carbon tax election to turn the decision away from me or Mr. Trudeau or Mr. Singh or Mr. Carney and put it in the hands of the people. I know that they will make the right decision.
Damn right we will.
Mr. Poilievre,
Call it.
can you clarify, you do not accept the possibility that Mr. Trudeau could resign and there could be a leadership? You think there needs to be an election right now?
Yes.
Yes. Because it is not backroom Liberal insiders who get to choose the Canadian Prime Minister, it is the Canadian people. And
Damn
for
right.
Mark Carney to write a fall economic update full of poison pills and then put it on his rival Chrystia Freeland's desk to knock her and Mr. Trudeau out of the game and allow him and appoint himself Prime Minister is about the most undemocratic political maneuver we've ever witnessed in this country's history. The Canadian people deserve to choose who should be their next Prime Minister. Let's put our faith in them.
Yeah.
That's
Bring
up
it
to
home.
Mr.
The
Singh.
election itself need to take place before January the 20th, when the catastrophic 25% tariff is slated to come into effect?
It would be ideal to have the election done before the president takes office or within the first week or two of his mandate, so that Canadians would have a strong Prime Minister with the brains and backbone, the strength and smarts to stand up for Canada facing down President Trump and our American competitors.
To be clear, do you think there is a process? Is there a process in the House of Commons? We're in a minority government. Do you see a process in which the House could vote no confidence before it rises tomorrow? Is there such a maneuver that you can do?
I think it's really up to Jagmeet Singh.
Freeland resigned hours before tabling the fall economic statement. How should the government now proceed with the Fed? Should it be tabled?
Yes.
Last question.
And maybe the answer is just for them to table the FEZ and let's vote up or down on the FEZ. It would be a confidence motion. I think the answer is to table the FEZ, the fall economic update, and let the House of Commons vote up or down. And if the fall economic update is defeated, then it would be a non-confidence vote and we would proceed to a carbon tax election. Je pense que M. Trudeau devrait déposer la mise à jour économique cet après-midi et permettre un vote ce soir pour permettre la Chambre des communes de montrer si oui ou non on a la confiance ou bien si on va aller en élection pour reprendre le contrôle de notre pays.
Last question.
Do you think Canadians want their Christmas holiday to be interrupted by a federal election campaign?
I think right now Canadians' Christmas holidays are being interrupted by the NDP Liberal hell they're living under. Lining up 2 million people at food banks, 1,400 homeless encampments, a doubling of gun crime, the worst inflation in 40 years, our 6 consecutive quarters of shrinking per capita GDP, $500 billion of investment leaving for the United States. Parents are tossing and turning at night because we have the most indebted households by far in the G7. That's the real hell that is interrupting people's Christmas spirit right now. And I think the best Christmas present we could give Canadians is to let them choose a new common sense conservative government that will bring home Canada's promise, so that anyone from anywhere can do anything, hard work, gets them a powerful paycheck and pension that buys affordable food, homes, and wonderful Christmas gifts to go under the tree. Thank you.